Senator Wyden.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, Mr. Secretary, around here we use the Joint Committee on Taxation to analyze key legislation. And they took a look at the House bill, the bill that you and the administration are in favor of. And the Joint Committee on Taxation found that under the House bill, high earners who bring in several $1 million a year will get tax breaks of $250,000. This comes from the people that we asked to do the analysis. So if we got to make choices, who are you with? Are you with those high earners that the Joint Committee on Taxation found? Or do you think it's more important that 2 million hungry kids in America have enough to eat?
Welcome back to the Constitution Corner, where we stand for liberty, limited government, and the constitutional values that built this nation. If you're tired of the DC circus, the media gaslighting, and the endless government waste, then you're in the right place. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode of Real Conservative Truth.
Senator, I think you're playing a game of semantics here. You're using absolute...
Well, why don't you just answer the question?
Why don't you ask an honest question?
It's Joint Committee on Taxation,
because we are talking absolutes and the answer is percentages. With TCJA, the top 10% share of taxes went from 37% to 45%.
I asked a very simple question based on the independent scorekeepers about who you value, and you're not responding, and I guess that's your constitutional right. Let me move on to tariffs. So, at your nomination hearing, I asked you whether Americans would pay the blanket tariffs that President Trump wanted to impose, and you said no. Now, since then, a number of analysts have said these tariffs are going to hit American families like a wrecking ball, something like $2,500 a year. Major companies like Walmart, Mattel, and Ford have all suggested they're going to need to raise consumer prices as the tariffs hit them. Some companies have already had to raise prices, like Stanley Black and Decker. So here's what you said. Nobody's making this stuff up. Here's what you said. Walmart will be absorbing some of the tariffs. Some may get passed on to consumers. Your words. So, another chance on the issue. Do American consumers pay the tariffs?
Again, Senator, you're cherry picking because Walmart makes decisions based on their customers. Two other very large retailers, and this is not an advertisement for them, Amazon and Home Depot, have chosen not to pass on tariffs. And there seems to be a new version of TDS, which I would call tariff derangement syndrome. And many on your side seem disappointed that there is no inflation today. As a matter of fact, we saw the best inflation numbers since 2020. So there has been nothing passed on. There has been no tariff recession. So no inflation, no recession due to tariffs.
So let the record show that once again, the Secretary of Treasury doesn't think American consumers are paying the tariffs. We say to all those people who are trying to pay medical bills and food bills and the like that are still going up, they know they're paying tariffs. Let me move on to an issue.
I'm sorry, Senator, but
it's my time, Mr. Secretary.
I'm sorry, Senator, but the data doesn't show that.
Okay, we can have a difference of opinion. The Senate is coping with health care choices that are enormously important. Just as a matter of your thinking, what do you think is the largest employer in rural America?
Sorry?
What do you think is the largest employer in rural America?
The largest single employer?
No, the sector.
The largest industry?
The sector, yes.
I would assume it would be agriculture.
It is rural health care. And it is why all of us up here disagree so strongly with what this administration, is doing. And the tax bill is going to accelerate the closure of rural hospitals. People who basically are the key to surviving in rural, life. And our colleagues, Senator Markey, Senator Merkley, Senator Schumer, are going to release new data that hundreds of rural hospitals across the country stand to lose under the Republican reconciliation bill, which apparently you guys don't know is going to clobber the big economic engine in rural America. So I'd like to hear your thoughts about whether you're willing to make changes to protect a crucial area of the American economy. In fact, I think it is fair to say almost all of us up here, the chairman and I, for example, we have the honor to represent a big chunk of the rural West. And I want to know if you're willing to make changes so that we can protect the economic survival of these rural communities, which means their hospitals.
We are quite satisfied with the healthcare portion of this and the adjustments to Medicaid.
I would just say to colleagues, my time is up. When you're home over the break and the like, ask your rural hospitals if they're satisfied with what they're going to get in the House changes, because I think they'll tell you they feel like they're going to get hit by a wrecking ball, and that'll happen in Kansas and Oregon and all across the land. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Today, we're reacting to a fiery Senate exchange between Oregon Democrat Ron Wyden and the Secretary of the Treasury. And let me tell you, this right here is the perfect example of how the left distorts facts, plays emotion over reason, and attacks pro-growth, pro-American policies that are lifting this country back on its feet. Senator Wyden opened with a typical progressive talking point, class warfare. He claimed that tax cuts were only for the rich, citing the Joint Committee on Taxation, saying that millionaires get $4 million in breaks. He then framed it as a moral choice. Are you for tax cuts or for feeding hungry children? Let's pause there. This is the same tired emotional blackmail we've heard from the left for decades. It's the same line they trot out anytime conservatives propose letting the American people keep more of their hard-earned money. But here's the truth. Under the Trump tax cuts, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, TCJA, the share of taxes paid by the top 10% increased from 37% to 45%. The rich are paying more, not less. The Secretary responded by pointing out that very fact, and Wyden wouldn't have it. He interrupted, got emotional, and insisted on sticking to his narrative. What? Because the left doesn't want to talk about facts. They want to sell fear and envy. Next came the fearmongering on tariffs. Wyden accused the Trump administration's America First tariffs of costing Americans $2,500 a year. He cited Walmart, Mattel, Ford, and even Stanley Black & Decker. But here's what the left refuses to admit. President Trump's strategic tariffs were designed to protect American jobs, rebuild our manufacturing base, and reduce our dependency on the Chinese Communist Party. The Secretary rightly pointed out that many major retailers like Amazon and Home Depot did not pass those tariffs on to consumers. Inflation wasn't driven by tariffs, it was driven by Biden's trillions in wasteful spending, printing money like toilet paper. And let's be clear, without President Trump's tariffs, our supply chains would be even more vulnerable. And then came the rural America guilt trip. Wyden says rural hospitals are closing because of Republican tax reform. Seriously? These are the same Democrats who backed draconian COVID mandates that crippled rural healthcare systems. They shut down elective surgeries, bankrupted providers, and made it nearly impossible for rural Americans to access the care they needed. Let's be real, it wasn't tax policy that shut down rural hospitals, it was government overreach and central planning. Republicans have consistently fought to expand healthcare choice and reduce bureaucratic red tape. And yet the Democrats want more top-down Medicaid control and federal micromanagement. Now Senator Wyden's trying to act like a champion of rural communities? Spare us. Here's the bottom line. What we saw in this hearing was a Democrat trying to twist numbers, manipulate public emotion, and blame conservatives for problems their policies caused. The left wants to tax success, punish prosperity, and control every dollar you make. They attack Trump-era policies not because they failed, but because they worked. Lower taxes, less regulation, energy independence, strong borders, and strategic tariffs created the strongest economy America had seen in decades. That's the record they want you to forget. But here on the Constitution Corner, we don't forget. We remember the policies that worked. And we're going to keep exposing this swamp theater for what it is, an attempt to distract from their own economic failures. If you support pro-growth tax reform, strong American industry, and rural freedom, hit that like button. Subscribe, share this video, and stand with us as we defend the Constitution, one episode at a time. We are the Constitution Corner, where Americans' root guides its future. Until next time, stand strong, speak truth, and may God bless the United States of America.